Hi everyone, Clev here. Today we are going to start day 3 of chapter 0, which is linear inequalities. Linear inequalities. Statements with greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to are inequalities. If any number is added or subtracted to each side of an inequality, the resulting inequality is true. So let's start with some simple examples. Example 1, solve each inequality. A, we have x minus 17 is greater than or equal to 12. We want to get x by itself. Treat these just like equations. So if I wanted to get x by itself, what would I do? Well, I would get rid of that negative 17. So I need to add 17 to both sides. When I do that, those 17s cancel out, and x is greater than 29. B, I have y plus 11 is less than or equal to 5. If I want to get y by itself, what do? I subtract 11 from each side, which gives me y is less than or equal to negative 6. Once again, we can double check that these are correct by plugging it back into the inequality. So for part A, x has to be greater than 29. So any number greater than 29, when you plug that in, is going to be greater than 12. And for part B, y has to be less than or equal to negative 6. So any number less than negative 6 is going to make that inequality true. It will be less than 5. Example 2, solve the inequality. I have t divided by 6 is greater than or equal to 11. I want to get rid of that division of 6, which means I'm going to multiply each side by 6. Do the opposite. So t is greater than or equal to 66. For part B, I have 8p is less than 72. To get a multiplication of 8 away, I need to divide by 8 on each side. That will get p by itself, and p is less than 9. Once again, you can plug those in to make sure your inequality is true. Solve each inequality. Negative 5c is greater than 30. With inequalities, anytime you see a negative, we kind of have to think, okay, is my inequality going to stay the same, or is it going to be different? For this problem, to get c by itself, I need to divide by negative 5 on each side. Anytime you divide by a negative, we are going to flip the inequality around. So this changes that c then has to be less than negative 6. And let's plug some number less than negative 6 into our equation. I'm sorry, not equation, inequality. So let's say 10, negative 10. We know that negative 5 times negative 10, which I just chose negative 10 randomly because that is a number less than negative 6. Let's see if that is greater than 30. Well, is greater than 30. So negative 5 times negative 10 is positive 50. Is that greater than 30? It is. So that's why I know that is my solution. Let's move on to part B. Negative d divided by 13 is less than or equal to negative 4. First thing I want to do is I'm going to multiply 13 on each side. I'm going to keep the negative out front still. So just multiply by positive 13 so that these 13s cancel, and I'm left with negative d is less than or equal to negative 52. The last thing, I want to get rid of that negative in front of our variable d, and I do that by dividing by negative 1, dividing by negative 1. Remember, when you divide by a negative, our inequality flips. So d then is going to be greater than or equal to positive 52. Our last problems here, we're going to solve each inequality. These ones are a little bit tougher. We have two-step problems here. So for part A, I have negative 6a plus 13 is less than negative 7. I want to get a by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 13. I'm going to subtract 13. So negative 6a is less than negative 20. Finally, I'm going to divide negative 6 on each side. So what happens to our inequality when we divide by a negative? It's going to flip. And so I can leave this as 20 divided by 6. Or if I want to simplify that, I see that 20 and 6 are both even numbers. So A is greater than 10 over 3. So I'd accept either of those. B, I have 4z plus 7 is greater than or equal to 8z minus 1. I want to get z's on the same side. So I'm going to start off by subtracting 4z from each side of the inequality, so that cancels. So 7 is greater than or equal to 4z minus 1. Next, I'm going to add 1 to each side, so those cancel, and I have 8 is greater than or equal to 4z. Divide by 4, divide by 4. And 2 is greater than or equal to z, or you can flip this around, and z is less than or equal to 2. And those are our answers.